Richard Weller was a man who had everything: money, fame, and a reputation that echoed through the glass towers of New York. As the CEO of a global tech empire, he was known for being ruthless in business, sharp in mind, and cold in heart. But behind the success and the tailored suits, Richard carried a void: the loss of his wife, Emily, who had passed away 5 years ago, leaving him to raise their only daughter, Lily. Since Emily's death, Richard buried himself in work, leaving little room for fatherhood. Lily, now 10 years old, grew up surrounded by luxury but starved of affection. The only person who truly gave her love was Maria, their maid. Maria was a kind-hearted woman in her mid-30s, with soft brown eyes and a gentle nature. She had been with the Wellers for 3 years, treating Lily as if she were her own. She cooked for her, read her bedtime stories, and wiped away her tears when nightmares came. To Maria, Lily wasn't just her employer's daughter, she was her world. Richard, on the other hand, spent most of his time traveling between countries, signing billion-dollar deals, and attending galas. He rarely came home without notice, but one winter evening, everything changed. That day, his meeting in London ended early. For the first time in months, Richard decided to come home without informing anyone. He wanted to surprise Lily, maybe even make up for lost time. His assistant offered to call ahead, but Richard refused. "No need," he said with a faint smile. "I'll surprise them." When his private car pulled up outside the mansion, snow was falling lightly. The house was quiet except for the faint sound of laughter coming from the living room. Richard's heart warmed. He hadn't heard laughter in his home in a long time. He walked inside quietly, his shoes tapping softly on the marble floor. The laughter grew louder, coming from the sitting area. As he turned the corner, he froze. There, on the floor near the fireplace, sat Maria and Lily. Maria wore one of Richard's old sweaters, the one Emily had knitted years ago. Her hair was tied back loosely, and her face glowed with warmth. Lily sat beside her, holding a toy crown, giggling as Maria placed it on her head. "And now, Princess Lily," Maria said playfully, "you must promise to always rule with kindness." "I promise." Lily giggled, throwing her arms around Maria. "You're the best mama ever." The word mama hit Richard like a thunderclap. He stood frozen, gripping his briefcase, unable to process what he had just heard. "Mama." His daughter called the maid Mama. Maria noticed him first. Her smile faded, and she stood up quickly, her hands trembling. "Mr. Weller, you're home early." Lily turned around, her eyes lighting up. "Daddy, you're home." Richard forced a smile and knelt to hug her. But even as he held his daughter, his gaze shifted toward Maria, filled with confusion and silent anger. After dinner, he asked Lily to go to her room. Then, in a low and cold tone, he said, "Maria, I think we need to talk." They stood in the kitchen, the warmth from earlier completely gone. "What was that I heard?" he asked sharply. "My daughter calling you mama." Maria's eyes lowered. "Sir, she misses her mother. I never told her to call me that. It just happened. I tried to correct her, but she—" "But you didn't stop her," Richard interrupted. "You let her believe you could replace Emily." Tears welled in Maria's eyes. "Sir, I would never try to replace her mother. I only wanted to comfort her. She's lonely." "Lonely," Richard snapped. "She has everything she could ever want." Maria looked at him, sadness written across her face. "No, sir, she doesn't have you." The words silenced him. For the first time in years, someone had the courage to tell him the truth. Richard clenched his jaw, trying to control the wave of guilt building inside him. "Pack your things," he said quietly. "You can collect your pay tomorrow. You're dismissed." Maria gasped. "Please, sir, don't do this. She needs stability. If I leave now, she's my daughter." Richard cut in coldly. "I'll take care of her." Maria looked heartbroken. She wanted to say more, but his expression told her it was useless. That night, she packed her small bag quietly, leaving behind the child who had become her world. As the front door closed, Lily ran down the stairs, calling out, "Maria. Where are you going?" But Maria was gone. Lily turned to her father, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy, bring her back. Please." Richard tried to comfort her, but Lily pushed his hands away. "You made her leave. You don't even love me." Those words echoed in his mind long after Lily had locked herself in her room. That night, Richard sat in his study, staring at a photo of his late wife. For the first time, he wondered if his wealth had made him blind to what truly mattered. Part 2. The realization. Days turned into weeks. Lily stopped eating properly. She refused to go to school and barely spoke to her father. The mansion, once filled with laughter, now felt colder than ever. Richard tried to fill the gap. He took Lily shopping, bought her new toys, even tried cooking breakfast himself, but nothing worked. The sparkle in her eyes was gone. Every night, she would whisper to her teddy bear, "I miss you, Maria." One morning, Richard found Lily sitting on the stairs, holding a small drawing. It showed 3 people, a man, a little girl, and a woman with brown hair. Above it, she had written, "My family." That broke him. He finally realized that no amount of money could replace genuine love. He thought of Maria, her patience, her care, the way she filled the house with warmth. She hadn't taken his wife's place. She had simply given his daughter what he never could, a mother's love. That same evening, Richard decided to make things right. He called his driver and asked for Maria's address. The driver hesitated. "Sir, she's been staying in a small apartment on 8th Street. She's been working part-time at a diner since she left." When Richard arrived, it was snowing again. He found Maria sitting by a window in the diner, wearing her old uniform, her face pale from exhaustion. She looked up in surprise when she saw him. "Mr. Weller," she said softly. "Please," he said, taking a seat. "Call me Richard." There was a long silence before he spoke again. "I came to apologize. I was wrong." Maria shook her head gently. "You don't owe me anything, sir." "I do," he insisted. "You gave my daughter more love than I did. And instead of thanking you, I punished you for it." Maria's eyes glistened. "All I ever wanted was for Lily to be happy. She reminded me of my own daughter." She paused, her voice trembling. "The one I lost years ago." Richard's heart tightened. He hadn't known that. He reached across the table. "Maria, please come back. Not as a maid, but as part of our family." Maria's lips quivered. "Are you sure about this?" He nodded. "Lily needs you. And truth be told, so do I." The next morning, when Maria returned to the mansion, Lily's reaction was pure magic. The little girl screamed with joy and ran into Maria's arms, hugging her tightly. "I thought you'd never come back," she cried. Maria smiled, tears streaming down her face. "I promised I'd always be with you, remember?" From that day forward, everything changed. Richard made it a rule to have dinner at home every night. He began attending Lily's school events, reading her bedtime stories, and spending real time with her. As for Maria, she became more than just the woman who worked for them. She became family. Her kindness slowly healed the broken pieces of both father and daughter. Months later, as spring filled the garden with new life, Richard stood by the window watching Maria and Lily play. For the first time in years, he felt peace. He whispered softly, "Thank you, Emily. Maybe this was your way of sending us an angel." Maria looked up and smiled at him, the same warm smile that had once melted his heart of stone. And in that moment, Richard realized something profound. Family isn't always bound by blood. Sometimes, it's found in the love of those who choose to stay, even when they don't have to. Hashtag emotional story, hashtag family drama, hashtag heart-touching story, hashtag millionaire and maid, hashtag father-daughter love. Image prompt. A wealthy man in a dark suit stands frozen in a grand living room doorway, watching a kind-hearted maid play lovingly with his young daughter by the fireplace. The room glows warmly from the firelight, contrasting the snow falling outside.